This is Get Gaming, the channel by gamers with a Y for gamers with or without a Y. And today I'm bringing you my solo milestones for 2022. The solo games I played, the solo games I loved, and I'll be doing a list of my top 11 solo games. 2022 was a big year for solo gaming. It was the year I really discovered solo gaming in a big way, and so I wanted to kind of go over the solo games that not only played the most, but the solo games that really resonated with me, and also talk just more generally about my experiences solo gaming in 2022 and some of my solo gaming resolutions for 2023. So before I get into my top 11, I do want to talk about sort of categories in solo gaming more generally. So my first experiences with solo gaming were later on in 2021 with Spirit Island. Spirit Island was my first solo game, which is kind of crazy now thinking of it because most of my solo games this year have tended to be lighter affairs. This was the year that I discovered print and plays, especially solo print and plays. This is the year that I discovered Button Shy, which I'm going to talk about a little bit. You know, starting with such a heavy game solo-wise and really getting into that vibe and seeing how rewarding solo play can be as an augmentation to the tons of multiplayer play that I do with Rich, that we do with game days. It's really helped, I think, round me out as a gamer in a lot of ways. It's just kind of it nourishes you in a different way, I think, than the multiplayer games. And it's something that makes you look at games a little bit differently than maybe if you are just a straight up competitive player all the time, or you're really just about that social element of gaming. It's something that makes you kind of start digging deeper into what a game has to offer, not just strategically, but aesthetically, the kind of experience and world building that a game is trying to do, even though I haven't done that many story games yet. That's one of my resolutions for 2023. But yeah, it's just, as a wannabe game designer, it's just made me start thinking about games in a slightly different way, which is not to say that it's any better than if you were just looking at games as from a competitive or social perspective. That's perfectly valid too. But it's been really eye-opening getting more into solo gaming in 2022 for me. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit more. I just got done talking about Spirit Island. I love Spirit Island. Some other people on this channel do not like Spirit Island as much as I do. So I really didn't get as much Spirit Island played this year as I would have wanted to. You know, I spent a lot of time on some exploring other solo games that the Spirit Island solo play just didn't really happen this year. But Spirit Island really is the game that made me into solo gamer. So it still has a very close place to my heart. And for 2023, I really want to try and get back to playing it solo a little bit more, just to explore the different spirits and things. So that's a resolution. But the big thing that really helped me with my solo gaming this year, and I do want to talk about this, because I'm always pimping, Button Shy. I'm not wearing my Button Shy t-shirt. This is my latkes bring all the boys to the yard, which is an accurate statement. My latkes are amazing. Just saying. So I want to talk about Button Shy a little bit, because this was the year that I really got into Button Shy. So I heard about Button Shy here and there before 2022. I think I'd seen the Dice Tower talk about some of their games a little bit, like Sprawlopolis and Circle the Wagons. But it was really Michelle from Second Star to the Left who really opened my eyes to some of the exciting games that Button Shy has, just the sheer variety of them, you know. Michelle had this couple of great videos where she covered Button Shy. I think it was back in March or April, where she did a whole series of videos on them. And I was like, well, I'm just going to take the leap to talk in the video about their Board Game of the Month Club, which I thought was really cool. And also I was like, well, these games are really cheap. And I was trying not to buy too many big box games at the time. And I was like, well, that sounds like a great way to kind of scratch my retail therapy itch without breaking the bank, because all their games are $12. Because they're all wallet games. I discovered, And this is the thing I'm generally going to say. If it's a button shy solo only game, if Scott Alm's name is on it, you should just play it because he is an amazing designer, I have discovered. So the first one of his I really got into was Food Chain Island, and I just wanted to mention it real quick because I think this is one of their more popular titles for a reason. A nice little slide puzzle ecosystem-y kind of game. So if you're into the theme of animals eating other animals, that's a great one. And if you're into like those slide puzzle things, you know, like Rush Hour with the cars, and you're trying to get the right combination of things in the right order, this is a really good one for that. His new one is Fishing Lessons, which I think I'm going to be doing a playthrough and review of this soon. This one's very interesting as well. And then Unsurmountable is one he has where you're climbing a mountain and there's Yetis. Very good little sort of tableau building game. Very crunchy. This one isn't by Scott Alms, but this is a solo mode I've been enjoying recently from them. Tides. I backed this as part of their last Kickstarter reprint campaign. I also got this in Rage More, which I haven't tried yet, but also came highly recommended to me by Michelle and a few other people on the Discord as a good solo game. But this one has a really nice little solo mode. You're basically collecting beach trash and making tchotchkes out of it. So what's not to love? It also has multi-use cards, which is really fun in this one. So obviously many other button shies, but these are the ones that I've been playing recently that I've really enjoyed. I just love button shy. Like if you're a solo gamer, button shy is the way to go. And it's really helped get me ever deeper into the solo gaming space. And they're really great for solo gaming because they're so quick to just take out. You take the cards out, you shuffle them up, the setups are easy, and you can just go boom, 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 boom. Get out a solo play session, multiple games in a row in like an hour or two. So if you're just trying to wind down, like after dinner or on the weekend, these are just really great casual solo games to do. And I really enjoy them. But none of these are the top 11. So bye. I did want to also give an honorable mention to two other solo games that did not make the top 11, just barely, but still are very near and dear to my heart. Calico, which is a game that I really got into in 2021. I think it was probably one of my favorite games that I discovered in 2021 after Spirit Island. And this is Cascadia, which I just discovered recently in December, and I started working for the solo campaign. But I might have mentioned I think I mentioned it in the December video or the November solo video that I really prefer Cascadia, I think it too. Now, I've really enjoyed more playing with Rich. I mean, it's a fine solo game. It works just as well as the solo mode in Calico and in another game that may or may not be on this list. Spoilers. It is fine solo mode. I enjoy it. I enjoy the puzzliness of the game. But I think I enjoy the puzzle in Calico a little bit more. But it didn't quite make this list because I think I had maybe 2 sessions solo of Calico this year. I do want to get back to working through the campaign in this one. And I'll obviously be continuing the solo campaign for this. So they're both going to continue to be in the solo rotation in 2023. Hopefully Calico will be in it a little bit more than it was this past year. But they're both really fine, excellent games with very smooth solo modes because there's no AI. I like solo modes with no AI because they're really simple to manage, easy to get into, and just kind of work your way through. These are both 30-minute or less solo games. So definitely good for doing multiple games in a session, especially when you're trying to beat really hard scenario, because some of the scenarios are quite hard in those solo modes. So enough of that. Enough of the guys that didn't make it on. Let's get to the ones that did make it on. So at number 11, so this is a game that we haven't talked about in a while, really. It lives in a bag. So this is Orchard, which I did do a solo playthrough of this that wasn't very good. So I did very poorly at it because at the time I was still really struggling to get past a certain score in this game. Let's open the Ziploc. It's not that musty. It hasn't been that long. So this is the print and play version. I don't know if I'll ever get the physical copy. Maybe. We have Grove now, and I think I mentioned in a recent video that Grove has, I don't want to say quite replaced this, but Grove is definitely a more forgiving game than Orchard is. But Orchard is definitely much more play over and over and over again because you're just trying to beat your high score kind of game than I really feel Grove is. I was really struggling to get more than like in the 20s in this game, which is not a great score. That's paltry and forget apple. I was just even trying to get to satisfactory, or, if I got to remark apple, which would be in the high 30s, that would have been great. But I think I got in the 40s once, but I don't think I've ever beaten 50, which is pretty perfect. Take a bow. I think it's something I'm going to come back to in 2023 because it is a really great little solo game, and it's so tiny. All you need are these dice and 18 cards, and you're only playing with 9 each game. So it's really built to be a multi-game per session kind of game, and it's very addictive, incredibly addictive. I think in 2022 I played it 34 times, so quite a bit. I still like this game. Maybe I should get the not print and play copy. I should get the published copy, but that's Orchard. I highly recommend. And at number 10 on my list of top 11 solo games of 2022, I've only played this once, but it really, truly has made such an impression. Actually, I played it twice because I played it once solo and I played it once with Rich. Stardew Valley. This game is so good. Technically a co-op game, but what's really great about the solo mode of this is you don't need an AI to manage. It's just harder to get Grandpa's goals done. Much harder. But I did pretty much almost manage to do it on my first game solo. It was quite difficult. And then when I went to do it with Rich, multiplayer, we did barely just manage to do it, which was quite fun. I really want to come back to this. The only reason I haven't played this more solo in 2022 is because the setup's a little bit of a bear. But we've certainly played more, and I've certainly played more games with bigger setups since we did this one. It was all the way back in April or May or something. So I definitely want to revisit it solo because it's one of those games, there's so much content and so many decks and so much to explore and do in this game that I really want to come back to it solo and multiplayer as well, I would say. But it just was a solo session that really it wowed me how good this game was, because I was really anticipating it, but I'd heard some mixed reviews from a couple of reputable channels about this, and I was just so happy when I played it that I was like, oh, their criticisms, whatever, I don't really care. Not that I don't care about their criticisms, but I found, for me, the things that they pointed out are potential issues in the game, but weren't necessarily that big of an issue for me when I played it, I found. I think some people, if you've played the video game, which this is based on a very popular video game, point and click farming game, if you kind of come with the knowledge of what you're doing in Stardew Valley, the video game, this imports a lot of what you're doing in the video game very well, in my opinion. So you kind of come in with a little bit of an edge of kind of knowing what to do. And if you haven't played the video game, I would find this a little bit of a steep into entry, just knowing what to do and how to do it most efficiently. Because this is really kind of a Eurotastic co-op in the sense that you have a very limited number of actions and a lot to do and a lot of way you need to go, and so achieving what you need to within the time frame, it can make the game feel quite punishing at times. Know that there is an element here where you might find it not possible to do everything you want to do in the time span you want to do it in. So what me and Rich ended up doing is we ended up adding some extra cards and just adding more rounds, which I think doesn't really break the game in any significant way, and I found actually made the experience more enjoyable. When I played it solo, I did not add those extra cards, and it was tight. It was tight. So again, I feel it's the game. It has so much variable content in it, and it's very much a sandboxy type of co-op that I think you can kind of curate your experience a little bit. It's fine. It's okay. Just because it's not there in the rules doesn't mean you can't do it. That's Stardew Valley. Highly recommend for solo players. So number 9 on my list is actually another button shy game, At the Helm. So I've talked a little bit about this in a recent monthly math. This is an 18 card solo only deck builder with a nautical theme. You're a captain going around doing nautical things. It's just a very tightly designed little card game. It's very enjoyable. It really impressed me because I love deck builders, and often with deck builders it's about variety of cards, variety of content. This is a game that lets you feel like you're doing a lot of different things and exploring a lot of different things with very little cards, and just the way that you're working through the deck each time is just very well designed. The way it works mechanically, it doesn't feel stale. Of the, how many times did I play it? I probably only played it like 3 or 4 times, but it's definitely felt fresh to me each time I've done it, and it's something I definitely think I'm going to be reaching for again and again as one of the solo button shies. It really impressed me. So if you are looking for a good relaxing solo game that still has a little bit of a challenge, I definitely suggest At the Helm. So at number 8, this was, if you count all my solo and plays with Rich, this was my most played game at this table. And that is Cafe, which has a really great solo mode because, again, it's multiplayer solitaire, basically. So there's no real AI to manage. You basically just have to get rid of more cards when you're drafting. And this is a game we talked about, I think, quite a bit in the past. It's a cards playing game where you are trying to dry and roast and deliver these different coffee beans to these different cafes. And it's pretty much an engine builder and an efficiency cube pusher, and it just works so well. It's so tight, but the decisions you have to make within that tight space are just so incredibly different each time. It's just, I think one of the reasons me and Rich love this game so much, and one of the reasons I like playing it solo so much, is just, how can I do things more efficiently? Every time I come to this game, I'm like, how can I create a machine that's really singing? And how can I produce coffee up the wazoo? It's a game you come back to again and again because you want to get better. That's part of what makes it such a really replayable game for me. And yeah, this has just been one of our top games, if not our top game of the last year. Yeah, just multiplayer, it works. Solo, it works great. This is just a fantastic game that I highly, highly recommend you get it for all your friends, have a copy at everybody's house, keep one at the local coffee shop so you can introduce it to more people. I cannot recommend this game enough. And then at number 7 for my top 11 solo games of the year, The Bloody Inn. So we had a whole tabletop and toast video where we just waxed poetic about this game. So again, another engine builder. This one has a very macabre theme. You are a French family of murderers who run an inn where some people check in and maybe they check out, or maybe they don't. Who's to say? This just works so great solo because this is another solo game where you don't need an AI. Are you noticing a theme here? What's really great about the solo version of this game is it allows you to explore the different kinds of strategies and different kinds of ways of building the engine to do things more efficiently, which is to say, kill and rob people's dead corpses more efficiently, as you do in France in the 1800s. I think I was really raving about this solo mode to Tia from Takaijo because this is one of her favorite games as well. This was just one of the big discoveries this year for spooky season, and I was like, this game is really good. If you like multi-use cards, you'll be into this game. If you like engine building, you'll be into this game. If you like joking about killing people, then you'll like this game. It just has something for the whole family. Highly recommend The Bloody Inn. Multiplayer, solo, it's great. And now we're coming to the truly controversial pick. I've been seeing a lot of mixed reviews about this game going around, and I get it, but also I don't really care. At number 6, Verdant. Okay, the fact that I chose this over both Calico and Cascadia will be very controversial, I know. But having played all 3 solo campaigns, and this is, I wouldn't call it quite a trilogy, but this is from the same design team. The thing about Verdant, so when I first played it, I was a little underwhelmed. I think like some other reviewers were. Like the first couple of times I played it, I wasn't quite sure if it was vibing with me. And it is a game that just grows on you. Well, I love plants. Plant Daddy.
Plant Daddy, I'm looking for a plant daddy.
I needed to get little Bobby Estes in the mix. My newest little plant baby. Oh, isn't he so cute? Little Bobby Estes. He's a hypo Estes. That's why he's Bobby Estes. Jesse's dad from Gilmore Girls. So, Verdant. As I was saying about Verdant, I really like the puzzle of this game. The puzzle of this game is the right level of crunch for me. Working through the solo campaign especially has made me go, wow, this game it's just fun to work through. And the puzzle changes. It's so variable, the kinds of things that you're going for. Because the base game, there's just so many different things to score for. You can't really focus on all of it at once. And you kind of end up needing to specialize, or else you end up cheating yourself out of points. And what's really great about the solo mode, or just, you don't even need to do it solo to do the different scenarios, but I highly suggest doing the scenarios because they're configured in such a way that will help guide your strategy more and give you, I think, more of a sense of purpose in the game. I've just been enjoying it solo so much. I mean, I got this in, I think it was October. It ended up being one of my most played solo games of the year. I mean, it was only 8 times, but Cafe, I played 11 times solo, and that was, towards the top for me. And we recently played Planted, which we will be doing a comparison video, so I don't want to go too much more deeply into that. Verdant is it's grown on me. It's just grown on me. I just feel a fondness for it now, and it's feeling like a very comfort food game, which is kind of what I want out of a solo game, something that I'm going to reach for again and again that's just going to put me in a particular place and help me forget all the other stuff going on in the world and in my life. Just get the most pointastic little plant babies that I can. And at number 5 on this list of top solo games, of course, another button shy. You knew there was going to be more than one. And this is the Mac Daddy of them all, Sprawlopolis. So if you're starting with button shy games, this is definitely the game that I would recommend to you first. Even if you're not trying to do solo only, you can play it co-op. It works pretty well at 2, I would say. You probably could do it at 3 and 4 too. I can't remember if it says you can. Yes, you can play this at 4. I think it works best as a co-op at 2. Once you start doing 3 and 4, it'd probably be a little too many cooks in the kitchen, but you can do it. This is pretty thick because I have all the expansions for it, which it took me a while to get them all, and I haven't even worked through them all, to be honest. I haven't worked through the Interstates one, but my favorite one, of course, is Rektar. Look, it's little Rektar. Oh, he just wanted to come say hi to the people in the building. The expansions do add a lot. I think it's a perfectly fine game even without the expansions. I'm just kind of a completionist that way. A lot of the one-card expansions do add, a little bit of flair. The Beaches expansion is actually a really good one to add if you're trying to vary things up a little bit. But it's just, Steve Armini, just such a great designer. This is just infinitely replayable, I feel. Like if you're looking for a good solo puzzly game, this is the way to go. And the base game with 18 cards has so much variety in the different combination of scoring criteria because all the cards are double-sided. So you have scoring criteria on the back, and then you have sort of the cards you're using to build the city with on the other side. So you're building the city with 15 cards, and then you have 3 that you flip over to be the other scoring cards. And just the different kinds of challenges you can give yourself each time. What's really great about this game is that you can curate your experience to a great degree. Like Cafe, a game you come back to trying to do better every time, trying to get better, and trying to do things more efficiently every time. It is just a winner chicken dinner. Sprawlopolis. If you want to get into button shy games and you're wondering what all the fuss is about, this is definitely the place I would suggest to start. So at number 4, so I did mention that this was the year I got into roll and writes, and specifically print and play roll and writes. So they kind of live in here. I still want to get these laminated. So Ada Lovelace, consulting mathematician, I did a playthrough of this fairly early on in the channel, which I still stand by. I actually think it is a decent playthrough because I scored my highest ever. Actually, this is the sheet. This is the sheet from that playthrough. It's been a while. I played it a lot when I was really hot on it. It's been a hot minute since I've done it, but I definitely want to come back to it because like I was saying about just those comfort food games and games you come back to wanting to do better and better every time, trying to beat that high score, this is very much that. It's one of the more interesting polynomial-based print and play roll and writes that I've done, or even just roll and writes, similar to Cartographers and Castle Party. This does a similar thing, but the way that it uses dice and the way that it kind of engine builds with the different powers that you can unlock as you go along makes this definitely much crunchier than a lot of roll and writes of this genre. or subgenre, I should say. Just the way that you're trying to fill out the rooms, but it's impossible to fill out all the rooms. But you got to kind of pick and choose where you're going to fill out and what you're going to surround, because it's one of those games where once you surround certain icons, you'll be able to unlock certain special abilities that will help you be able to do things better and more efficiently. And just a really, really great and underrated roll and write. It's one of my favorite still roll and writes that I've done. And, even compared to Cartographers, I think it's even crunchier than Cartographers. That seems to be the one that people are super hot on. And I don't hear people talking about this one as much. And it is just so excellent. So incredibly excellent. I'm still holding by my promise, by the way. Once we hit 50 subscribers, I'm going to do a live stream of the legacy version of Ada Lovelace. So that's one that I'm really hoping to do in 2023 once we can get to those 50 subscribers. So please remember, hit that sub button. We love subs. And there's other ones that live in here. I have this Island Alone print and play in here that's pretty good. It's kind of an exploration kind of game. Actually, if you're curious, here's a sheet for Island Alone. This is a cool little game that maybe I should try and cover on the channel at some point. Okay, we're getting down to it. So at number 3 is a big one, and that is Juicy Fruits. I think I've talked about the solo mode quite a bit in a couple of different videos. This is a game that looks very light on the surface, easy to teach. The solo mode is like 3 times as crunchy as the multiplayer game. It's like 2 different games almost, in a good way. If you're looking for a really good solo mode of a game, I highly suggest this one. I love this game. I love the theme of you're on the island growing fruit, you're bribing officials, and in the solo mode, you are playing against an AI. This is the one solo mode with an AI that I don't mind so much because it's pretty easy to manage and kind of feels more integrated into your turn. It just kind of feels like your turn is has twice as much stuff in it. And in the solo game, you're on a timer, basically, because the AI Pineapple, you're playing against Pineapple, and there's basically like a clock, and it's going around this dock, and you're trying to basically beat it before it can trigger the end of the game. The Pineapple AI is super overpowered. It's getting points left and right, and you're just like, how can I play this at maximum efficiency so that I can just stay afloat and be able to possibly trigger the end of the game on my own before the Pineapple can get there. So there's almost kind of like this race element that comes into it in the solo mode, which is really cool. Yeah, I haven't played through all the modes. I think I've played for 2 of the boards. There's 4 boards in the game, and the solo scenarios are on the other side of the player boards. So I really want to work through the other 2 this year and get this in a more regular rotation. I played it about 7 times in 2022, so it was kind of spread out. But I recently played the solo mode a couple months back and got back into it, so I'm really excited to continue to explore the solo mode for Juicy Fruits. And speaking of exploring things, a game that's been getting a lot of heat on this channel lately from other people, and that is Meadow, my number 2. I know you're surprised it wasn't my number 1, but just wait. This is my favorite game. And the solo mode's great. There's not much of an AI to manage. All the AI really does in this game is basically discard cards and just get points from the cards. So you're just basically trying to get enough points to actually beat the AI score so that you have more points than it is in the AI's deck at the end of the game. Rover, the AI is called Rover. Okay. It's just really great, the solo mode, for exploring how to really play the game efficiently. You're kind of noticing a theme because I love these puzzly engine building efficiency kind of games for solo play. This one I only played 5 times in 2022, but it was always at a time when I just really kind of needed to pick me up. I just needed kind of almost like a therapy session of a solo gaming session. You know what I mean? And this is just one I reach for when I really just want to reconnect and rediscover what it is that I truly love about this game, which is one of my favorite games of all time and doesn't seem like it's going anywhere anytime soon. If no one else wants to play the game with me, at least I can always play it solo, I guess. Tears and fears. So now for the number 1 solo game I played in 2022. I only played this once in December. It's a little crazy and unfair that it's here at my number 1, but wow, talk about the hype is real, you guys. Hadrian's Wall. Wow, what an excellent game. What an excellent solo mode. I don't know, Bobby Estes is going to go over here. I don't know if this is really a game I would want to play multiplayer necessarily. It's a little bit of an uphill battle, and I do want to reiterate, if you haven't seen Beyond Solitaire's teach of this, it's very, very good for helping to get you through the door on this game. I will say it's the kind of game where you can just dive into it and start doing stuff and kind of work your way almost sequentially through this rulebook. This rulebook is really good in the sequence that it explains things. And if you just kind of work your way through each section of the rulebook and just start filling things in, you'll be fine. So I did mention this is a roll and write, and quite an intense one. Intense looking. I think it's more intimidating looking than it actually is. Don't get me wrong, it's a super meaty Euro game. And this is combo-tastic. If you like comboing, resource conversion, turning in other things to get other things, to create these long domino chain kind of actions that are like super overpowered, this has it all. It's such a great game arc because as you play the game, you're able to do more and more. By the time you get to the end, you're just like, oh, wow, that was a roller coaster. But just you get such a huge like endorphin rush. It is everything that I love about Euros and solo gaming. This game I cannot recommend enough. And I think definitely watch a tutorial, work your way through it at your own pace. Just be prepared. I think my play of it took 3 to 4 hours, something like that. But I was starting real soft. I was kind of watching Liz's video kind of on and off, pausing, working my way through stuff, taking her strategic suggestions. So it's the kind of game where if you start with a good foundation with your wall at the beginning and trying to start to generate some resources, you'll do fairly well at it as you kind of work through things. So I found you can kind of work on the wall sheet mostly first before you start working on the city over here. You can kind of ignore the city for a little bit as long as you're kind of bumping your tracks on the other sheet. And then once you get that going pretty well, you can start kind of using things on the city sheet to kind of help you start bumping those tracks, which will then start to feed back into your wall track. So everything is very synergized, which is what makes a teach of this, I think, a little bit of a daunting task. But Liz did a really great job with it. So go and check out her video if you're wanting to get into this game and seeing kind of how it works, how this thing ticks, because it's really just a fantastic design and I cannot recommend it enough. So that's my top 11 solo games for 2022. I think it was a solid list. Get in the comments and let me know what you think, and let me know what were your top solo games for 2022. What was your top button shy game of 2022? Because I had multiples that I talked about on this list, and I could have talked about even more. 2022 was a great year for gaming, indeed. If you watched our yearly math already, you'll know we played a lot of games. I played a lot of games. I'll always remember it as the year I really got into solo gaming, which is something that's really honestly been helpful for my mental health in a lot of ways. Getting deeper into the hobby has really helped me slow down kind of mentally, which is very important for my disease. It's given me kind of something to hold on to. I don't want to say quite a life raft, but just, because it's not quite that. It's something very cathartic to work through these games. It's helped kind of anchor me mentally and emotionally this year. So I'm very grateful and very fulfilled just reflecting on all the amazing experiences that I've had, not just solo this year, but with Rich. And I'm very grateful to all of you that are watching this right now, even if you're not subscribed, or even if you're not really that into board games, you're just somebody that we know that, subscribe to the channel because you like us. That's cool too. But I'm really excited for where the channel is going to go. I'm really excited for where my journey is going to go in 2023. I'm just really looking forward to the future, and I'm looking forward to playing games, talking about games, eating games, cooking games. So if you like this content, please like, subscribe. We love subs. And remember, always be gay, do crime, don't get caught, and get gay men.